understand why 9mm is under fire today, we have to look back at why it became the military's go-to round in the first place. Many of us appreciate the 9mm cartridge for its manageable recoil, solid capacity in compact platforms, and affordable cost compared to other calibers. But younger people might not know its story. Born in 1901 by Georg Luger, the 9mm Parabellum became a NATO standard over time, due to its balance of performance and practicality. The U.S. military made the leap from 45 ACP to 9mm in the 1980s, embracing the Beretta M9 as the standard sidearm. At the time, the switch was praised for cutting costs, streamlining logistics with NATO allies, and allowing more troops to shoot accurately thanks to lighter recoil. That all sounded great, right? For quite a while, it lived up to the hype. But what seemed like a smart logistical move back then is now facing scrutiny in the field. But as real-world combat evolved, the 9mm began to show its limits. That's where the trouble begins. Military evaluations revealed that the 9mm full metal jacket round lacks the immediate stopping power associated with other service cartridges, especially in the unforgiving conditions of actual combat. FMJs tend to pass straight through a target, without causing the traumatic disruption that expanding rounds deliver. Meanwhile, in the civilian world, we can choose from hollow points, like Federal HSTs or Spear Gold Dots, bullets engineered to expand, transfer energy, and reduce the risk of overpenetration. Unfortunately, international conventions strictly forbid the use of expanding ammunition in warfare, effectively handcuffing military performance. Stripped of these modern advancements, the 9mm round loses much of the appeal it holds for civilian defenders. Supporters of the Second Amendment often champion the 9mm, not because of its legacy, but because of how potent it becomes with modern hollow point or fluted copper designs. The contrast in performance between FMJ and premium defensive ammo is nothing short of dramatic. And that dramatic difference isn't just theoretical. It has real-world consequences. Frustration has been brewing for years. Reports from Iraq and Afghanistan reveal that soldiers often needed multiple hits to stop insurgents, particularly when those enemies were under the influence of adrenaline or narcotics. While shot placement remains the golden rule, it's clear that superior bullet design can make the difference between survival and tragedy, when lives are on the line. Understandably, some voices in the military began to question the status quo. If we can't use the best version of 9mm, they said, maybe we shouldn't use it at all. It's a sentiment that borders on ironic, a kind of jealous boyfriend logic. If I can't have you at your best, then maybe you're not worth having. From their perspective, if the military is restricted to full metal jacket rounds, crippled by international agreements, then the 9mm loses much of its tactical appeal. To be clear, this isn't about taking 9mm away from civilians. No one's lobbying to ban your carry gun or your ammo stash. This is strictly a conversation about military procurement and performance. Frustrated by the limitations, some within the ranks began pushing to phase 9mm out from future contracts entirely. They're not saying the 9mm is a bad cartridge. They're saying that the military version, with FMJs and no expansion, is a compromised, diluted form of an otherwise excellent round. Let's take a closer look at how this dissatisfaction played out in the field. During the global war on terror, countless reports emerged of sidearm engagements requiring far more rounds than expected. In high-stress, close-quarters scenarios, especially during urban operations where squads breached tight spaces, the 9mm FMJ often zipped straight through targets, increasing the risk of overpenetration and endangering nearby civilians. By contrast, in civilian and law enforcement use, jacketed hollow points are specifically designed to expand on impact, dumping their energy into the target and minimizing that exact risk. The difference is so stark that it's no wonder soldiers feel shortchanged. They watch ballistic gel tests online, see defensive rounds like HSTs or gold dots mushroom perfectly, and think, wait, we're not allowed to use that. And it gets worse. There have been real-world incidents where threats simply didn't go down fast enough, even after taking hits from 9mm FMJ. That's the last thing anyone wants to experience during a firefight, needing multiple follow-up shots to neutralize a threat. Sure, shot placement is still king, but in a chaotic environment where adrenaline is high and seconds matter, every extra round needed could cost lives. When a sidearm becomes your last resort, it has to work the first time. Some elite units, like those under SOCOM, have partial exemptions. They may be cleared to use certain hollow points or different calibers, but those are exceptions, not the standard. Most regular troops are still issued standard 9mm ball ammo, with no access to modern expanding designs. That gap in capability only fuels the frustration. So why doesn't the U.S. military just switch to a different caliber, say 40 or 45, and sidestep the entire issue? After all, 45 ACP served as the standard for decades, and plenty of shooters still swear by its raw stopping power. But there's a trade-off. Both 45 and 40 caliber bring their own drawbacks. They're heavier to carry, generate more recoil, and often reduce magazine capacity. They're also more expensive, and not as widely available around the globe, an important factor when working with NATO allies. That's why the military originally standardized around 9mm in the first place: logistics, compatibility, and control. But now, new calibers are back in the conversation. We're hearing more about 357 SIG, 10mm auto, and even personal defense weapon rounds, like the suppressor-friendly 300 Blackout. It might sound dramatic, but if ball ammo is the only legal option, maybe a bigger or faster bullet is the answer. And it's not just handguns getting attention. The U.S. Army's Next Generation Squad Weapon Program, NGSW, is pivoting to 6.8mm rounds for rifles. A clear signal that terminal performance is once again a priority. It's all part of a broader trend: militaries seeking increased lethality through improved ballistic efficiency. And that trend likely won't stop at rifles. It's reasonable to expect that brass will explore better performing options for sidearms too. Now, to be fair, the current issue sidearms, the Sig Sauer M17 and M18, still chamber 9mm. But here's the twist: they're modular. That means the platform could, in theory, be converted to another caliber if a better performing round proves worth the transition. None of that is guaranteed, of course, but the option is on the table. But even as the military explores new directions, 9mm remains the undisputed king of civilian carry. Many everyday Americans, myself included, choose 9mm pistols for personal defense, and with good reason. The recoil is light, making accurate follow-up shots easier under stress. You can fit more rounds in a standard magazine compared to 45 or 10mm, giving you greater capacity without sacrificing control. And when paired with high-quality defensive ammo, 9mm delivers serious stopping power. Modern jacketed hollow points offer consistent expansion and deep penetration, meeting or exceeding FBI standards for terminal performance. The key difference? We're not bound by the Hague Convention. Civilians and law enforcement alike can legally harness the full potential of the 9mm platform. That's why all this talk of banning 9mm sounds so bizarre to many of us. From where we stand, the 9mm is more than capable, provided you're using the right ammunition. And that phrase matters. The right ammunition. Military ball ammo isn't the same as the bonded hollow points in your concealed carry gun. Interestingly, the FBI once moved away from 9mm in the wake of the infamous 1986 Miami-Dade shootout, switching to 40S and W for more perceived power. But 3 decades later, they came full circle. Returning to 9mm after extensive testing proved that modern bullets had radically improved. It made perfect sense. Law enforcement officers could use hollow points and even fluted, monolithic copper designs, restoring the round's effectiveness. And today, many police departments nationwide successfully carry 9mm, loaded with premium defensive ammo. So, to the average American shooter, the question remains, why walk away from something that clearly works? When you peel back the layers, the so-called ban the military wants isn't about outlawing 9mm altogether. It's about phasing it out of future contracts, removing it from the standard issue lineup, not your everyday carry holster. They've seen enough to believe that as long as Hague rules remain in place, 9mm FMJ simply doesn't meet their battlefield needs. And there's a growing concern about adversaries wearing modern body armor. Against hardened threats, full metal jacket 9mm may no longer deliver the immediate stopping power required to neutralize danger. Add to that the reality of urban warfare, tight spaces, thin walls, civilians next door. And overpenetration becomes more than just a statistic. It becomes a liability. Meanwhile, the armed civilian with legal hollow points isn't burdened by these limitations. And honestly, that's why the FBI came back to 9mm. Shot placement, plus modern ammunition, equals a lethal combination. But that advantage disappears when you take away the technology that makes the round work. So, what do you think? Should the military continue investing in improved 9mm ball designs? Or is it time to move on to a hotter, heavier caliber altogether? Drop a comment below. I want to hear what you think. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss the next deep dive into real-world firearms and ammo. Thanks for watching.